The Denver Nuggets are expected to flood the downtown area on Thursday as the team is honored for winning its first NBA championship. The Nuggets brought down the Miami Heat 94-89 in last night's Game 5. A victory parade for the champs will get underway at 10 o'clock local time. Big money is up for grabs in this week's multi-state lotteries. Tonight's Mega Millions jackpot is worth $260 million. Tomorrow night's Powerball jackpot is rolled up to $340 million. You're listening to the latest on NBC News Radio.
Located in the heart of San Bernardino, California, the Teamsters Local 1932 Training Center is designed to train workers for high-demand, good-paying jobs in various industries throughout the Inland Empire. If you want a pathway to a high-paying job and the respect that comes with a union contract, visit 1932trainingscenter.org to enroll today. That's 1932trainingscenter.org. One of the best ways to build a healthier local economy is by shopping locally. Teamster Advantage is a shop local program started by Teamster Local 1932 that has brought together hundreds of locally owned businesses to provide discounts for residents who make shopping locally their priority. Everything from restaurants like Corky's to fun times at SB Raceway and much, much more. If you're not currently a Teamster and you want access to these local business discounts, contact Jennifer at 909-889-8377, extension 224. Give her a call. That number again is 909-889-8377, extension 224.
Are you underpaid and overworked? Is a living wage and employee benefits like affordable health care more of a dream than a reality for you and your family? If so, it's time to form a union. Don't be denied the wages and benefits you deserve. Come together in a union with the power of numbers. A union is not a privilege, it's your right, and it will make a difference. Contact Teamsters Local 1932, a powerful and successful labor union in San Bernardino, by visiting Teamsters1932.org/organize to start today. Labor unions built the middle class, and the middle class built America. That's the message from Teamsters Local 1932, a strong and successful labor union based in San Bernardino that represents over 14,000 hardworking people across the Inland Empire. The Teamsters are ready to help you organize for better pay, increased benefits, and improved working conditions. Reach out to Teamsters 1932 at Teamsters1932.org/organize to speak with an organizer today.
And welcome, brothers, sisters, working class heroes. This is The Rick Smith Show. Thanks so much for being here. Today on the big program, lots to get to, lots to talk about. As you can tell, a little bit under the weather. Took a week's vacation, little time off. We've put together a new studio, still working out some weird kinks in the new space. Thought it was going to be a good week. We were going to get, all done with the studio. It was going to be fabulous. And then, well, I got COVID. And this shocked to me, because it's one of those things going, well, where was I? I wasn't around a huge crowd of people. I generally socially distance and all that. But here I am. And I'll tell you, glad I got the vaccine and the booster, because it is whipping my behind. Cannot imagine how bad it would have been without it. But I think I'm over the hump. I think we're heading towards maybe getting a little bit better. Hoping. I want to thank the folks who on social media reached out and said, hey, we hope you're doing well. Hope you're getting better. Hope this isn't kicking your behind like it is. And for those who sent me emails, and there were a number of folks who wished me ill. A couple of people wanted me to die. You're not going to get your wish. Sorry. I know you were hoping. Not going to happen. Now, the weird thing is I'll tell you, I thought it was, this tells you how infrequently I get sick. I thought it was the Canadian air. from the wildfires coming down. Because, over the days when I first got sick, our air quality here was just horrible. And it was one of those things that reminded me of being a kid growing up in Cleveland in the 70s with the horrible air. And it's one of those things where, you saw the pictures from New York and you saw the pictures from around the country and you go, yeah, you kind of now, that's what the 70s were like. That's what the air quality was like when corporate America was spewing everything into the atmosphere, and we needed rules. And this is the reason that you fight for the EPA and the Clean Water and the Clean Air Act. And it was one of those things that rushed back to me and go, yeah, this is what it was. This is how bad it was. But it turned out to be, not that. So I ended up going to the doctor. I ended up getting a COVID test, which the weird thing is I did, the at-home ones. So I do the at-home ones, and the first one comes back positive. So I'm like, oh, let me do another one because, hey, maybe, fingers crossed, the next one comes back negative. And I'm like, well, now I got a positive and a negative. I need a rubber match. We need the tiebreaker. That one came back, we don't know. Which then led me to go to the the urgent care center, where they then gave me the test. Which the weird thing is the results came back abnormal but positive, and so begin the process of getting better and doing all that. Now I did ask the nurse. I said, which brand of bleach do I get for the best results? Is there a certain shade of light bulb I should be using? No sense of humor whatsoever. No one wanted to hear it. In fact, when I said, hey, can I just swing back by the Tractor Supply and pick up that ivermectin stuff? You think that'll help? Really not. No fun there at all. No sense of humor. In fact, walked out and did not say a word. And then I had to go back and say, I was joking. Yeah. But, last week was an interesting week. I take a week off, and finally the Department of Justice does something. This is the part that drives me crazy. Every time we take a day off here at the program, something like this happens. The last time, I was thinking about it, the last time something like this happened, the Mueller report dropped. You remember how long we were waiting for the big Mueller report? Oh, it's going to come, Mueller's in the rearview mirror. And, I was like, it'll come. We're taking we need a break. And bang, the day, in fact, I think it was the day we took off, they did drop it. But here we are, Tuesday, going to be the big showdown in Miami, Florida, as Donald Trump has been indicted. It wasn't Joe Biden, and this is the part that gets me. It wasn't Joe Biden that did this. It was the Department of Justice and the grand jury, the peers, and I keep hearing all of this news, all these reports. There's going to be violence. There will be no violence. There'll be a couple of wineheads who are going to try and get some attention, but there's not going to be some mass organized march to break Donald Trump out of jail. It's not going to happen. There's not going to be some giant, right-wing militia coming down to free him. It's not. They're going to use the excuse of the FBI is going to come get us. Yeah, because if you try and do that, that is a crime. Don't crime. And this is the lesson in all of this. This is where my mind went. So Trump has been indicted, 37 counts, as I understand, that could net him somewhere, I don't know, 17 and a half to 22 years, somewhere in there. Good behavior, a little bit less than that. Someone who accepts responsibility and says, well, I made a mistake. Probably a lot less than that. I find it interesting that the number of people are saying, "No, this is all it's outrageous. Can't believe it." Here's the thing: don't crime. Don't crime. And I've been saying this all along. Don't crime. And where my mind has been is, as I'm watching Trump's reaction, because Trump's the one that I've been really paying attention to his Truth Social account. It's all been, what about him? What about that? It's not about him. And my mind came into this place where this is the first time that Trump is really being held accountable in his life. 70 plus years on this planet, no one's told him no. He was the kid that no one had the audacity to say, no, Donald, you can't do that. No, Donald, you can't take that home with you. No, Donald, you can't steal that. No, Donald, that's not yours. No one has ever told him that. So, and I had this conversation over the weekend where I'm going, there's a part of me that feels sorry for him. And, poor parenting. This is what happens when parents don't teach their kids boundaries. This is what happens when parents give their kids everything that they want and never say no. In fact, when my wife and I had our children, there was a guy, and I forget his name, but he wrote a couple of books, and the one thing that he said children need a huge dose of is a heavy dose of vitamin N, and that is no. No, you can't have a cookie at it before dinner. No, you can't stay up past your bedtime. No, you can't. No. Teaches them boundaries. Teaches them that they don't get everything they want. Teaches them that maybe they shouldn't crime. And this is the place that I see Donald Trump in. Because again, the first time in his life he's being held accountable for his actions. Now the weird thing, as I said, pointing at the other side, Trump is now coming out and saying, well, if I become president, if I become president, I'm going to indict Joe Biden. Going to go after Joe Biden. And going after Joe Biden then takes some of the attention away from him. Now, I do find it interesting that there are some quotes that have grabbed my attention. Mick Mulvaney, Trump's former chief of staff, he said, I think the chances of a guilty verdict are fairly high, and the chances of real jail time are pretty high. You have Trump's former Attorney General Billy Barr saying, even if half of it's true, he's toast. I mean, it's a very detailed indictment, and it is. I've read it. And he says it's very, very damning, and it is. I've read it. It's pretty damning. And it's one of those things that makes you go, yeah, it's pretty bad. So today on the program, I'm going to take some phone calls. I want to hear your thoughts. No screener today because COVID, only person in the studio. So when I reach out to you, you're going to go, hey, I'm going to say, what's your name, what's on your mind, and we're going to go through there. Not a whole bunch of carrying on. So let's give this a shot and see if this works. Hey, how we doing? What's your name and what's on your mind?
This is Kurt from Akron, Ohio.
Hey, Kurt, what's up?
Hey, not much. And hey, I'm sorry you have COVID. I'm one of the fortunate who never did get it in this whole thing, so my heart goes out to you that you got it.
I appreciate it. Thank you. What's on your mind?
You're welcome. Well, Lindsey Graham and all these guys, and Jim Jordan, first of all, if you ever notice, the faster Jim Jordan talks when he's making a point is the more he's lying to you. And he talks faster than the Micro Machine guy.
Yeah.
Remember those?
No, the FedEx
Micro
guy.
Machine?
No, it was the FedEx guy.
The FedEx guy. There you go. And Lindsey Graham. Okay, dude, this is a thing, Miss Lindsey. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. And I'm sorry to all my LGBTQ.
Allow Lindsey to live his truth. Go on. What's on your mind? Get it out.
Right. But anyway, Hillary Clinton. He had to give the Republican point of view when George Stephanopoulos asked him about, is Trump guilty?
Yeah.
And he goes right for the Hillary Clinton thing.
Of course. It's all about the what about. It's all about them. It's not about Trump.
It's the whataboutism.
Yep.
So here's the thing. Hillary Clinton, if you've read the book, What Happened After She Lost the Election to Donald Trump in 2016, she wrote that book, What Happened. She kind of addressed that to the point where, if you remember, government agencies were being hacked at that time when she was Secretary of State.
No, I don't even need that, Kurt. I don't need that. I know that when Trump was president for 4 years, his Department of Justice didn't do anything because there was nothing.
There was nothing, but what I'm saying is what they need to start coming back with is, there was hacking going on then, and they need to push back is what they need to do. Yeah. These media people, either that or not have these people on. But what I was getting at is she wanted to have her emails secure that might be some kind of sensitive information, not necessarily classified or anything but sensitive. And she thought, what better place than a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week Secret Service protected server, because her husband had a Secret Service protected server in the house. So, and if you remember, her private server never got hacked during all that time. And then the other point I was going to make was, gosh, there's just so much. This is so fluid. This is such a fluid situation right now. Oh, the BlackBerry thing. You know how he says, oh, she destroyed the BlackBerry, she wiped the BlackBerry, all this other stuff.
Yeah. See, here's the thing, Kurt. This is where you're playing their game. You're making defenses of things that are so far in the past that I don't even care anymore, because, again, Trump was president for 4 years. His DOJ could have done all of this, and they didn't, because, again, there's nothing. What's at stake here is a former president criming. And if you read this 47-page indictment, it is damning. His own attorney general said it is damning. His chief of staff said he's probably going to jail. This is bad for him. So all of the deflection is what they need.
And here's the thing on that third paragraph in that damning report, or in that damning indictment, that's probably the most damning part.
Yeah, no, I mean, the fact that I said this from the beginning. People have gone, well, Joe Biden in the garage. Yeah, okay, fine. Biden gave the stuff back. It's the cover-up. It's always the cover-up. You know, and I said in politics, we know this, Kurt.
That's where the two things differ. That's where the two things part. You know, because when you think about it, Trump was given every opportunity over what did they say, 25 times in like a year and a half by the National Archives and the FBI. In fact, don't call it a raid, people. It's not a raid. They were plain clothes. It was at 10 o'clock in the morning. They were welcomed into Mar-a-Lago to pick up the boxes. Don't let them buffalo you.
I don't care if it was a raid or not. The guy didn't give the stuff back. He should have given it back. He lied at every turn. He did what a child would do to try and cover up the fact that he broke the lamp in the living room, and now he's being held accountable for the first time in his life, and it's about time.
And that's where it differs. And that's where it differs between him, Biden, and Pence. At least Biden and Pence knew enough to, once they found out, they called their lawyers, they called the National Archives, they said, we found some stuff, you need to come and get it. And that is why Biden and Pence will not be getting in trouble for this.
And I said that from the very beginning. You know, this is every political scandal ever. If you come out and you say, yep, I did it, then you're going to you're going to pay a price. But if you try to continue covering it up and lying and making stuff up, that's what gets you. It's the lying that gets you. That's what I tell my kids. Look, if you do something and you tell me the truth, I'm not going to get mad at you. But if I know you did it and you lie to me, if you look me in the eye and tell me a bold-faced lie, I'm going to be really ticked.
That's when you're going to get busted.
That's it.
Just remember, it wasn't the crime that took Nixon down. It was the cover-up, and it was the lie.
Yeah.
And you know, the ironic thing about this whole thing, if Trump is found guilty, I think he will, but I don't know if he'll serve prison time. The ironic part of this is he changed that espionage punishment when he was president, because he wanted Hillary Clinton to go to prison, and now he is probably going to be the one that goes, well, let's say hypothetically, or whatever you want to call it, going to prison for doing what he wanted Hillary Clinton to go to prison for. Yeah. That's the ironic part.
That's the ironic part. You're absolutely right. And it's in the indictment, too. They even say, look, you know, Trump said this when he was running for president. All of the things that he would do and why, you know, protecting classified information is so important. You got to read the report because it's brilliant.
That's the Russia if you're listening statement. That was the Russia if you're listening statement where he said all that, too.
No, it's brilliant. But, Kurt, I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
And I hope you feel better.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the well wish. As I said, you know, I love when people wish me well. For those who wish me ill, too bad. Want to hear your thoughts. 1-866-416-RICK, 1-866-416-7425. Going to take a quick break. Right back. Stick around. You listen to The Rick Smith Show. We're working people. Come to talk.
We are AFGE, the American Federation of Government Employees. We represent 700,000 federal and D.C. government workers who are the vital threads of the fabric of American life. We support our nation's military. We take care of our nation's veterans. We protect our nation's borders. We respond to our nation's crises and natural disasters. We provide services to our nation's seniors. The American Federation of Government Employees. We work for America.
The phone lines are open. Give Rick a call at 1-866-416-RICK. That's 1-866-416-7425.
We are AFGE, the American Federation of Government Employees. We represent 700,000 federal and D.C. government workers who are the vital threads of the fabric of American life. We support our nation's military. We take care of our nation's veterans. We protect our nation's borders. We respond to our nation's crises and natural disasters. We provide services to our nation's seniors. The American Federation of Government Employees. We work for America.
Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
1-866-416-RICK, 1-866-416-7425. You got a thought? Something on the Trump indictment? Want to hear it? Again, no screener today, so you're going to have to hang on until I get to you with you. You can say your name and what you want. We're gonna get right through some stuff. Now here's the weird thing. I got a bunch of emails from people going, "Oh, this is all political." You know, Merrick Garland's a hatchet guy, and I'm going, "Wait a second. Garland was a moderate Democrat at best. In fact, if you remember 2010, Garland was the guy that I think it was Orrin Hatch had put forth for Obama to choose as a Supreme Court justice. Now, Obama chose Elena Kagan, but at that moment, that was one of those things where you go, "Hey, we like this guy. Why don't you put this guy in there?" Only to have him denied down the road, and now hatchet jobbed. It's really remarkable where we are. Let's quick go to the phones. On line one, how we doing? What's your name? What's on your mind?
Hello, it's Alice.
Hey, Alice.
Pennsylvania. I just wanted to say that I find it amazing that we have all these Republicans all of a sudden deflecting, lying, and whatnot. And I hear that, among themselves, though, they're talking about, how they can do damage control. And then you have the few, of course, that are going, "Oh, wow." So I'm just going, yeah, you guys are like splintering.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite conversation was with a reporter and Kevin McCarthy. The reporter said, "Hey, well, was that a good look for the former president to have boxes in a bathroom?" And McCarthy chimes back, "I don't know. Is it a good picture to have boxes in a garage that's open up all the time? A bathroom door has locks."
Oh, I know. Yeah, like that door's locked all the time. It's just amazing to me that you just sit there and go, okay. So basically, I don't know why they don't just say, if a Republican does it, it's fine if the crime wasn't committed. But if it's anybody else, it was a crime. I mean, that's basically what they're saying to us.
That's what they're trying. What they should have done, all they had to do is, on the doorknob, hang presidential library, and maybe it had a defense.
That is probably a good idea. But I'm glad you're feeling better, and I'm so sorry that you finally caught the COVID.
Yeah.
And that your son got it, too. He's had a bad year.
Yeah.
But you have a good evening, Rick.
Thank you, Alice. Appreciate it. No, it's been a rough couple of days. This has done, wow. This has been a beating for me. I've had colds in the past. I've been sick in the past. Nothing like this. Now, here's the weird thing, and this is a good thing. This is why I think this is important and different than a lot of points in the past. The recent Reuters Ipsos poll, 62% of Americans polled believe the charges. 62%. DOJ, understand, DOJ, they don't willy-nilly grab stuff. They don't. And they win like 99% of the time. So, going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Let's go to the phones. What's on your mind? What's your name? What's on your mind? All right, I think I lost you. Let's go here. What's your name and what's on your mind? Go ahead. What's on your mind? Listen to the phone, not to the radio.
So, going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Let's go on the phone. What's on your mind? What's on your mind?
Are you there?
Let's go here.
Well, we'll wait till he gets around to it. This has got to be Gary from Minnesota, right, Gary?
Go ahead. What's on your mind? Listen to the phone, not to the radio. So, interesting to see how this plays out.
All righty, we're going to let you go then. Thanks. Appreciate the call, man. Look, I don't have a screener. You gotta listen to the. You gotta listen to the when I pick up. You gotta listen to the phone, not to the radio. Turn the radio down when you call in. This way we can talk. But what I said is, the big reality is 62% of people are saying, yeah, I believe the charges. And if you read them, they lay it out pretty good. 91% of Republicans, 35%. 91% of Democrats, 35% of Republicans. That's a pretty big deal. Pretty big deal in my view. And again, I go back to the comments by his chief of staff. Chances of a guilty verdict, fairly high. Fairly high indeed. Going to be interesting to see where this goes. I know Trump is whining and complaining that, they're coming after me every time I fly over a blue state. There's a subpoena. Well, Florida is not a blue state. And on Tuesday, you're gonna. I'm going to take a quick break. Right back. Stick around.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1936. That was the day Remington Rand President James Rand boasted of a new scheme. He called it the Mohawk Valley Formula. It served as a blueprint for the future of union busting. The National Labor Relations Board called it a battle plan for industrial war. The workers at Remington Rand had walked out on strike in late May after enduring a year of anti-union harassment, threatened plant closures, and firings of top union leaders. The company used a number of dirty tricks during the strike to mislead and demoralize strike forces. In his book, The Last Great Strike, Ahmed White describes the purpose and function of the formula, writing, quote, "The scheme figured in the Little Steel Strike, as several authorities would accuse the steel companies of patterning their response to the steel strike after Rand's formula. It consisted of no fewer than 9 steps, all oriented to employing threatening armed forces, spies, and provocateurs, company-sponsored back-to-work movements, and staged reopenings to terrorize and demoralize strikers. Provoke strikers to violence and discredit them. Then use the specter of violence and pretense of a state of emergency to mobilize opposition to the strike on the part of local police and courts. And finally, announcing that the strike had been broken and that any remaining resistance was the work of an intractable minority hostile to community values and the right to work. The central insight behind the formula was that violence could be used not only to drive workers off the picket lines and paralyze them with fear, but also to turn both the law and political sentiments against unionists while justifying the employer's own conduct and excluding its contempt for labor rights.
As Scottish literary giant Robert Burns wrote, "The best laid schemes of mice and men go oft awry." His 1785 poem, titled To a Mouse, could be directed today at the right-wing sloganeers who've been scheming so furiously to turn their hokey woke snobbery into a winning political stratagem. Your local librarian is woke, they screech. So is Disney Inc., some of your churches too, plus all Democrats, and oh my God, even Bud Light. Creeping wokeism is the new Red Scare, welfare queen, and Willie Horton political bugaboos rolled into one, forming the main, quote, issue of Republicans now running for president, Congress, and dog catcher. But rather than getting defensive, insisting you are not woke, consider firing back by saying, "Of course I'm woke." For the great majority of Americans, being woke is a very positive characteristic, meaning you're awake, attentive to what's going on. Indeed, in black communities, stay woke has long meant staying alert to racial and social injustices. But even some Republicans must consider it bizarrely self-defeating for their party's top candidates to be urging voters to go to sleep. GOP leaders explain that anti-woke means crusading against DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusiveness. But wait, that means they're opposing America itself. For we are a nation united under the essential principle of e pluribus unum, as affirmed by everything from the Declaration of Independence to our kindergarten teachings of sharing and fairness. Ours is a country rooted in constant diversification, expanding equality, and the democratic idea that every voice ought to be included. Our country needs more of all three. This is Jim Hightower saying America is way short of achieving these historic ideals, but shame on those demanding we abandon even striving for them. Confront the charlatans.
Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
So before we move on, let's get to the phones. I got Dick in Chicago on line one. Dick, buddy, what's on your mind?
Hey, man. First time calling. Sorry about the COVID. Hope you feel better soon.
Thank you, brother.
But
Appreciate it.
I got a quick question. So now I haven't actually read the indictment yet. I'm going to. I'm planning on it. Just haven't gotten to it this week. But, I mean, my understanding, everything I hear, they're talking about, evidence or that Trump, sold or traded some of these secret documents. Well, my question is this. Why did the Saudis give Jared Kushner $2 billion?
That's always been my question.
Yeah. But don't you think it has something to do with selling secrets to them or giving something to them?
That's something that should be investigated, most certainly. I said
so.
The first time we found out about Kushner and the $2 billion, I'm like, maybe someone should look into this.
Absolutely. I hope Jack Smith is.
I'm with
you.
But
someone has to look. Yeah, someone has to look into that. That's mighty fishy.
Yeah,
I'm with
you.
Mighty fishy.
Thanks, Dick.
Anyway, just wanted to make that comment. Take care, man. You're great.
Good stuff.
Bye.
Appreciate it. No, I said that from the beginning. When that first came out, Kushner getting this huge windfall of money. You go, come on. It's not because he's good looking. Most certainly not. So let's. I like getting a different perspective. I like reaching out to my friends on the other side of the political ideological divide. In this moment, I think there might be some unity opportunity, which is why I asked my good friend Joe Walsh to come share some thoughts with us. Joe is a former Illinois congressman, former presidential candidate, also host of the fabulous podcast, White Flag with Joe Walsh. Joe, thanks for taking time for us.
Rick, you sound like crap. You should be in bed.
I absolutely, positively, 100% agree with you. I should be in bed.
There, right off the gate, we found common ground.
So let's get your thoughts on this indictment. Thoughts? We right, wrong?
Oh, I mean, look, legally, absolutely right. Trump broke the law. He committed crimes. He deserved to be indicted. He'll deserve to be indicted again in Georgia in a couple months, and he'll deserve to be indicted a couple months after that for what he did to lead to January 6th. Rick, he deserves to be indicted. He deserves to be convicted. He ought to be in jail. But having said all of that, let's not be blind, silly, and stupid. Every single freaking indictment is going to strengthen him politically within the Republican Party. This one especially.
Absolutely. And look, I've said he'll probably be convicted. I don't think he spends a day in jail. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see it. But this is one of those things where when you read the indictment, and I sat down and I picked through it, you go, the crime here is like every one of these political crimes. It's the cover-up. It's everything you did to get away with the original act. It's like, when your children break the lamp in the living room, all the stuff they do to cover it up. That's what you get mad about, not about the broken lamp as much. And to me, that's always been the differentiation in this between Biden and Pence or anyone else for that matter.
All he had to do, Rick, was return the documents,
Give back.
just like everybody else did. But again, Donald Trump, Rick, has been obstructing justice his entire life. So it's not a surprise that he's doing it here.
No, as I said at the beginning, I said this is the first time, and I almost feel sorry for him. This is bad parenting. I don't believe he's ever been told no in his lifetime. This is the first time in his 70-plus years on this planet where someone has said no, and he doesn't like it.
Most certainly he doesn't like it. But again, this is serious, but we need perspective here.
Right.
He will be indicted in 2 months for criminally interfering in Georgia's 2020 election. Of that, I have no doubt. There would not have been a January 6th without him. I'd be really surprised if he's not indicted for that. Those two crimes, Rick, trying to end our democracy, are much more serious.
See, here's the thing. This is where there's some seriousness in this for me as well. The fact that he had these documents, the fact that we know that he showed them to people and joked, or this is what the indictment says, joked that, I shouldn't be showing you this. That takes to me another level of question that I have. And as the caller a minute ago asked, about the $2 billion in Kushner and the cozy relationship with the Saudis, you start questioning a lot of this stuff and the motivation and the means. And I got to tell you, there's a lot here, man.
There is, Rick. Look, I have publicly called Donald Trump a traitor for the past 5 years now. He doesn't give a damn about this country. It's why he did what he did after the 2020 election. He had some of our most sensitive, top secret information down there, defense information, nuclear capability information, top secret of our allies. You and I and everybody listening to us wouldn't hesitate to believe that Donald Trump wouldn't hesitate to give that information to anybody. He doesn't care about this country.
Now, the weird thing to me, and this is where I struggle, I remember a country where, our division stopped at the water's edge. I remember a country that, we put down our political divides every once in a while when the country was at stake. So I'm looking at the Republican Party right now and going, they know that he's guilty. I mean, you got Mulvaney saying, "Yeah, it's bad. He's probably gonna get convicted." You got Billy Barr saying the same thing. You've got some, but the Republican Party as a whole, not so much. And I think you as a cautionary tale of when you come out and you speak out against the dear leader. And I think that's the reason we're not seeing as many people coming out and saying anything on this as I would have hoped we would have.
Anybody who publicly comes out strongly against Donald Trump is done as a Republican. I learned that 5 years ago. Liz Cheney and my friend Adam Kinzinger learned that a couple of years ago. You've got Chris Christie out there pounding Donald Trump right now. Chris Christie has zero constituency in the Republican Party.
Yeah.
It's his party. And Rick, it's his party because the voters, Republican voters are standing with him. The only reason Ron DeSantis and Mike Pence and Kevin McCarthy and all the rest are standing with Donald Trump is because those Republican voters are standing with him. That's the problem.
And how much of that is our media culture? I mean, we've divided up. We're in red hat, blue hat land, where if you wear the red hat, you got to believe the narrative. Facts be damned. It's about the story. It's about the lies we tell ourselves on both sides of the fence. I would argue Democrats are a little more fact based and fact driven. You could disagree, but how much of it is that narrative that they stole this from us, and no fact or reality shall ever cloud that view.
You know, it plays a part. 80% of Republican voters do not believe Joe Biden won. So who's to blame for that, Rick? Are Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity and the rest to blame because they feed that lie and they spent years telling their audience that lie? To a degree, yeah. Shame on them, yeah. Shame on Trump, yeah. But at the end of the day, shame on these Republican voters, most of whom were my followers and my supporters, for embracing all of these untruths.
So let me ask you this, because we've had this conversation in the past that our friends on the right, heavily armed. I keep hearing stories of, like we heard before January 6th, that they're showing up armed to protest, stacking up bodies, and I forgot what the other idiot said. But there's been a number of those kind of statements made that, Tuesday is going to be a violent day in Miami. Are you personally? I'm not expecting anything because I think they're cowards, and I don't think that they have the kind of support that's being projected. But I'm curious your thought.
I don't think there'll be violence tomorrow. I don't think we'll see another January 6th. But Rick, we've got 17 months until the election. I think we're going to see a lot of violence between now and the November 2024 election. A lot of targeted violence, a lot of isolated violence, a lot of lone wolves out there. Look, Trump just got indicted for the second time. He'll be indicted for a third time. If he's not the nominee, imagine how upset his do-or-die supporters are going to be. This is going to be a really ugly 17 months, and America needs to brace themselves for that.
You're listening to The Rick Smith Show here with Joe Walsh, former Illinois Congressman and 2020 Republican presidential candidate, also host of White Flag with Joe Walsh. We'll get a link out on social media how you can take a look at that. But, here's the thing, and this is where I keep coming back to this moment of, this is going to make him stronger with this base, not the general electorate. That's still up in the air for me. Yeah, I think the Republican Party's already in the bag for him. How do you see this going in the general? Because as I understand, this isn't going to be over before the general election, and there's a lot of questions of what happens after. But how do you see this playing out in the general if and when he is the Republican nominee?
Hey, Rick, I actually disagree. I have a really contrarian view. I think I have no doubt that all of this will strengthen him in the party, but I think this could strengthen him in a general election as well. Now, a lot of that has to do with Biden and how weak I think the Democrats are and how, let's be clear, how fragile Joe Biden is. Joe Biden now has a record he has to defend. You may like some of that record, but the Republicans can try to make mincemeat out of that record. Joe Biden is a communications problem. And it's this notion, Rick, as well, that appeals to people outside just the base that Trump is being unfairly targeted. Bibi Netanyahu became prime minister of Israel, and he was indicted before he became prime minister again. I think this notion of Trump wearing this as a badge, that especially if he's indicted another time or two, that I'm being unfairly targeted. Rick, that message, even if not accurate, appeals to people beyond the base.
No, the victim card, you're right. And as I've said before, no one plays the victim card like a Republican. And you can disagree with that, but boy, they're good at it.
Both sides are really good at it. In my lifetime, Rick, I've never seen anybody better at it than Trump. But again, it goes to, even though I don't like Trump and I can't stand him and I'm doing everything I can to defeat him again, I believe I am always a distrusting of government. And so it's not a reach. I've had a lot of reasonable Republicans tell me over the weekend, it just seems, Joe, like they're unfairly going after him. Let the voters decide who the next president is, not some special counsel. I hear that from people who are not MAGA cult members.
Yeah, well, I think the voters are going to be able to do that because, again, I don't think this trial will be over by Election Day.
It won't be.
And so the bigger question here, Joe, is, at what point do you hold people accountable? I mean, we can go back through past presidents and things that have been done, and they were able to let sleeping dogs lie, let's move forward for the good of the country, all this stuff, and we've never held anybody really accountable for things that they do because we've never really had this kind of a guy who's done this much. This is the part where this is a bridge too far. This has to be tried. This has to be put out in the public. Win, lose, or draw, I think the crimes have to be exposed.
They have to be, Rick, no matter what the political ramifications are. Donald Trump is a criminal and a traitor. We've never, ever, ever had a unique threat like this. So he has to be held accountable. My God, 2.5 years ago, he led a violent attempt to overthrow an American election. If he doesn't pay a price for that legally, then we're toast as a country.
No, I absolutely agree with you. Now, I saw John Dean, who was on CNN, and said that he's urging this Walt, I can't pronounce his name, not a Nauta. I can never.
Yeah, the body man.
Yeah, I can't pronounce his name. He's saying, look, this guy needs to strike a deal. This guy needs to come clean. I fear, and this is the weird part of this. This is how I see this. If I'm him, I think you gotta come and turn, because you're gonna be. I think ultimately he's gonna be the guy laying on the sword, spending 17, 20 years in prison for something he was told to do. So I'm curious your thoughts.
Yeah, I don't know, Rick, but hasn't he already testified under oath in front of the grand jury? I mean, he's still bodying Trump right now, but he's already testified to the grand jury. And it sounds like they caught him in a few falsehoods. Look, Rick Wilson, right? Everybody that Trump touches dies. Yeah. It just amazes me that people who've worked for him, more people, don't turn on him. For all we know, Rick, Mark Meadows has turned on him.
No, and this is the weird thing.
It won't matter. Politically, none of this matters.
None of it matters. And the weird thing is this is stuff I was saying back in 2015, Joe, that, having followed Trump in New York, having followed his rise to attention, this is a guy who stiffs people. This is a guy who gets what he wants and leaves disaster in its wake. And am I surprised? I go back to, Inauguration Day 2017 and said this is going to be, and again, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not clairvoyant, not particularly bright, but I said this is going to be the most corrupt administration in the history of this country, because just look at his business record, and he did not disappoint.
So the scary thing to wrap our arms around is, and I'm convinced of this now, Rick, because I come from the world of the Trump supporter. Trump's supporters, his base, they know he's a criminal. They know he's corrupt. They know he's kind of a traitor. They want it.
Yeah.
They want it.
See, and that's the thing.
They want all of that.
And you should say that 10 more times, because I think that's something that I struggled with for a while. I know a lot of people on the left. I know a lot of Democrats. I know a lot of Republicans. They don't believe that the base doesn't care about any of it. The crimes.
Bull crap. Not only do they not care, and I come from the base, and I still talk to these people every day.
No, I'm agreeing with you, Joe. I'm agreeing with you.
Not only do they not care, Rick, it's scarier. This is what they want.
Yes.
They want an authoritarian. They want a bad guy. They want a bully. They want somebody who's corrupt.
Because they want them to go after the others. And the weird thing is this is that Pastor Niemöller thing that I keep bringing up every once in a while. Yeah. Eventually the bully comes for you. Eventually the bully takes your lunch money. But for right now, it's just the others. It's the woke or the LGBT or the minorities or you name it. It's them first. But eventually they come for you.
And they haven't thought that far ahead. Right now, the corrupt bully, is going after everybody they hate and they love it. So they've given him carte blanche to do whatever he wants to do.
Wow. I mean, we definitely live in scary times, but we'll see how this breaks out. What are you expecting? Last line of questioning. What are you expecting coming out of the court appearance on Tuesday. Do you think this will be low key? Do you think there'll be a lot of people showing up? With the Nazi flags going to come marching down the street? What are you expecting?
Hey, Rick, I actually think tomorrow is going to be a really big day for Donald Trump. I hate to say that, but politically, I think there's going to be a huge crowd down in Miami. I think he's then going to fly back up to New Jersey. He's got a big event and a speech planned in New Jersey. I think tomorrow, Tuesday, is going to be politically a knock it out of the park day for Donald Trump. It's going to be a spectacle, and he's going to be like this martyr, this savior. It's going to be a bad day for us, but a good day for him.
No, he will. The one thing you give him credit for, when he's got center stage, he takes advantage of it.
Yeah.
And this is what we're going to see. It's everyone else's responsibility to pay attention, and then to hold him accountable. Because as I've said before, this could be the first time in his life. But Joe, as always, I appreciate the thoughts. I look forward to the day when we can argue about policy and how we move the country forward, other than how do we stop it from burning. But one day.
One day soon. Go to bed. You're sick.
Joe Walsh, I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much. Good stuff, our good friend Joe Walsh. Want to hear your thoughts? Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. I'm going to take a quick break. Right back with your thoughts. Stick around. You're listening to The Rick Smith Show. We're working people.
The phone lines are open. Give Rick a call at 1-866-416-RICK. That's 1-866-416-7425.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1904. That was the day that 18,000 workers in Chicago's stockyards went out on strike. Work in the stockyards was often brutal and dangerous. Thousands of workers toiled in the yards, many of them immigrants from Eastern Europe. They worked butchering and processing the hogs and cattle raised in the American West into meat for distribution by rail to consumers across the country. The industry gave Chicago the nickname Hog Butcher for the World. In 1904, the Amalgamated Meat Cutters Union organized a strike. The main demand was increased wages. The meatpacking companies were able to get scabs to cross the picket lines and act as strikebreakers. Most were African Americans and European immigrants. Many of these workers had not been organized by the union, which was dominated by the skilled German and Irish packing house workers. Novelist Upton Sinclair visited the stockyards during the strike to research conditions faced by the workers. In his famous novel, The Jungle, Sinclair gave a fictionalized account that captured the devastating impact of the scabs on the strike. He wrote, quote, "Such were the stockyards during the strike, while the unions watched in sullen despair, and the country clamored like a greedy child for its food, and the packers went grimly on their way. Each day they added new workers, and could be more stern with the old ones, could put them on piecework, and dismiss them if they did not keep pace." It was not until the 1930s, when the stockyard unions took seriously the task of organizing across race, ethnic, and skill lines, that they finally won a contract and gained the rights of union recognition. Labor History in 2 brought to you by the Illinois Labor History Society and The Rick Smith Show. For more information, go to laborhistoryin2.com, like us on Facebook, and follow us on the Twitters at Labor History in 2.
You're listening to The Rick Smith Show, where working people come to talk.
Sorry, only one of us in the studio today. COVID has taken over my studio. Yeah, I finally got it, and I'm not happy with it. And again, I want to thank all the folks who did send out well wishes for a speedy recovery, and for the folks who did not, well, you know where you can go. That's the best I've got. So if you're calling, the reality is no screeners to answer the phones. It's got to be me. Just is what it is. But here's the weird thing, and this is where I'm hoping in this moment. I'm hoping in this moment that the rest of us, I get the red hats, are never going to see the flaws. They're going to read the 47-page indictment that the DOJ put out. And again, this isn't a politically motivated deal. I've had a bunch of people, this is Joe Biden going, no, this isn't Biden. Biden wants no part of this. Because as Joe Walsh said, this just strengthens Trump. This just makes Trump more the victim so he can continue to raise money off of and fleece the dim. But this has to happen. Is this how I want it to happen? No, I think this should have happened a while ago. But we're in a moment where this is, Lindsey Graham's right, and some of the others are right. This is going to strengthen him. This is going to give him that ability to go, oh, they're coming after us. It's not just me. No, it's not me. It's you. And he said this already. This is going to be the shtick. It's not about me. No. I'm as pure as the driven snow. They want to silence all of you by taking me away from you. I mean, the narcissism that comes with this is pretty incredible. But that's who he is. And again, that's why the base loves him. And I know people who have looked at me in the face and said, don't care. Don't care that he's cheated on his wife multiple times. Don't care that he's taken food out of the mouths of children. Don't care that he stole the lollipop from the little girl on the street corner. Don't care. He's going to do the stuff I want. And that's, all of the culture war stuff, all of the tax break stuff, all of that. So it's up to everyone else to say, look, do we have a country that believes in the democratic process, that holds people accountable when they break the law, that the Lady Justice is blind? Or do we have what it appears we're moving towards? An authoritarian state where the mob, if they don't get their way, are going to start smashing things. And this is the interesting moment that we're in. So let's real quick. I got 30 seconds. What's your name? What's on your mind? Real quick. Go.
Dan from Chicago, wanting to talk about the Republican new campaign promise about the corrupt judicial system.
I'm going to have to put you on hold for that.
Okay.
I got to take a break right here.
Oh, that's fine.
Want to hear your thoughts. Going to take a quick break right back after this. Stick around.
Avoid going outside